Welcome to In the Mix, the show that puts masonry in the spotlight, block by block, brick by brick. I'm your host, Adam Hutchinson, Executive Director, Professional Engineer, Industry Advocate, and believer in the power of resilient building design. Every week, I sit down with architects, engineers, contractors, and building owners to break down how masonry makes our communities stronger, safer, and more resilient. We're here to share stories, tackle the tough questions, and help you see what's possible when we build better together. Let's get in the mix. In this episode of In the Mix, Evan Hall joins me live from the California Masonry Council's Design and Expo Day to discuss Project Chimney, an inspiring initiative preserving historic masonry chimneys that survived the Palisades Fire. Evan shares how House Museum partnered with mason contractors and industry organizations to carefully salvage these iconic structures, protecting an important piece of Los Angeles' architectural history, while also creating a lasting memorial to the resilience and recovery efforts. Evan also discusses the vital role masonry plays in historic preservation, why the industry's craftsmanship deserves greater recognition, and how better storytelling, collaboration, and community engagement can help inspire the next generation of builders. This conversation offers a unique perspective on the lasting value of masonry, not only as a building material, but as a way of preserving culture, history, and craftsmanship. I'm Adam Hutchinson. I'm with the Northwest Masonry Institute. I'm here talking to
Evan Hall with House Museum.
What are you guys doing in the masonry industry, and how did House Museum come to?
Well, House Museum mobilized a task force of masonry contractors to begin salvaging some of the historic chimneys that survived after the Palisades Fire. And so all of the chimneys that we've salvaged are either constructed of concrete block, brick, or sandstone. So we've become kind of immersed in the masonry world because that's the primary tool that we're working with. And we've had to learn about what it looks like to move this material, to salvage this material, to conserve it, to preserve it, and to talk about it, actually. It's a whole new vocabulary that we've had to learn because it's all masonry.
Yeah, so what's the mission for House Museum?
So the mission of House Museum is to revitalize historic landmarks that are vacant or blighted. And the way that we do that is through conceptual art, installations, or interventions. So we also develop cultural programs and educational programs around historic landmarks that are in need of additional care.
Okay.
Yeah. And those historic landmarks don't necessarily have to be masonry, but they typically exist on some type of historic register, which is either on a national level, a state level, or a citywide level.
Yeah, so we just talked with Will Sundquist from General Shale, and we were talking about historic preservation, and it comes up a lot with brick, right?
Right.
So what are you guys doing to help the masonry industry preserve that? Or are you just showcasing the preservation of it?
I mean, I'd say that we're advocating for the masonry industry because of the durability of these structures and the longevity of them. And if we think about some of the oldest cultural heritage sites around the world, from like the pyramids to the Roman Colosseum, like these are masonry structures. So we understand that masonry is a long-lasting material, and actually, when it's cared for correctly, it lends itself to the work that preservationists do.
Nice. So I know we had the Palisades Fire last January, right, is when it started.
Yeah.
I remember seeing a bunch of pictures of just chimneys everywhere.
Yeah.
So those are the chimneys that you guys are preserving and moving to the museum to showcase the longevity of the material, the durability, the fireproofness of the material.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Something like that?
Yeah, we've salvaged 6 historic chimneys that were either connected to architects that have legacies of designing homes and even commercial spaces in Los Angeles. Some of those architects are Richard Neutra, Eric Lloyd Wright, and Ray Cappy. And so we've, salvaged 6, and the goal is to create a memorial of 7 freestanding chimneys that will be installed in the Santa Monica mountain range. The whole project has been referred to as the Stonehenge by the Sea.
The Stonehenge by the sea. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
So, I mean, it's a very clear kind of image that one can get when you think about the height and the mass and the weight of the structures in relationship to the landscape and also in relationship to the sun and the movements of
Yeah.
the constellations.
When you are
Mm.
preserving the structures,
Hmm.
you're working directly with the mason contractors to
Yeah.
preserve them in a way that showcases their durability, showcases their architectural appeal,
Yeah.
and their impact to the communities that they were built in, right?
Yeah. From the start, we established a partnership, a kind of collaboration with the Mason Contractors Association of America
Okay.
and also the chapter in California and also California Masonry Council.
Yep.
And what is it? Masonry Institute of America
Yep.
as well.
Masonry
Yeah,
Institute of America. We
they
got so many of them.
so many of them. But we brought in the experts really to help us to develop a plan to salvage and preserve the chimneys with the least amount of damage to the original fabric of
Yeah.
the structures as possible. So what that has looked like is there's one chimney, which was the smallest one that belongs to a property by Eric Lloyd Wright. That chimney was extracted in one monolithic unit because it was so small, and then
Yeah.
it's still, of course,
You could fit it on a truck.
you could fit it on a flatbed, although it was very, very precarious driving through the hills of the
Oh, I'm sure.
Palisades close to midnight. But we have one chimney that was extracted in one monolithic unit, and then we have about two that were cut into sections
Okay.
because they were so tall. They had to be cut into sections and then lifted onto another truck, a stake
Yep.
body truck. And now those are in the storage yard. And then we also had some chimneys that had to be disassembled brick by brick
Oh, wow.
because there was no space or access for heavy equipment to get
Okay.
actually onto the property lots.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
Yeah,
But we're rebuilding them with the same bricks.
correct.
I'm assuming that there was a mortar analysis done to provide the similar mortar so that when we go to
Yeah.
construct it.
that that has to be done.
Okay.
That has to be done.
We can do that.
To be determined. Yeah.
Still to be determined,
Yeah.
but then we can rebuild them back just like they were
Yeah.
to preserve that historical
Yeah.
nature of the project and the
Yeah.
artistic aspect of these chimneys because
Yeah.
they represent a very terrible event,
Yeah.
but also the resilience of the neighborhoods as well, right? Part of rebuilding the Palisades
Mm.
is people are choosing to rebuild with more durable materials. Some of these people used to live in rundown homes, and it's unfortunate. And how do we better help them to know what to build with? So,
It's important to preserve the structures because they represent a time in Los Angeles's architectural history and development when people could build masonry chimneys and masonry cores. And now the
wow.
fireplace in the chimney is actually pretty obsolete. There's
Yeah,
code that restricts building these structures. Thousands of them were lost between both Palisades and Altadena. And so by preserving them, we're not just preserving like the architectural legacy of these prominent architects, but we're preserving a technical knowledge, a trade knowledge of masonry construction that was developed over the last 100 years.
yeah,
So, like you said, like the mortar analysis is really important because mortar has come a long way, I think,
it
in the
has.
last 100 years. I don't know the details of that because I'm, not a Mason. I'm an honorary Mason, but it's like there's technical analyses that we'll do for each of the chimneys that will reveal the history of construction development, material development for the bricks, for the concrete block, for the mortar, for all of
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of those things too is we've pushed the envelope so far with the energy codes and it's really pushed out some of these features that we used to include in our houses with the chimney where everybody would gather around and spend their winters, right? And or their Christmases and Thanksgiving meals around the fireplace. And we don't really do that anymore. So it definitely is something to preserve that historical nature and cultural impact. So the 5 questions that I typically ask are what brought you into the masonry industry altogether? And I think we've done a really good job of answering that. But in general, what brought
Mhm.
you into this
Yeah.
world? It's a
Yeah,
big
yeah, interesting.
network.
It's interesting. I would actually say that the masonry community brought me in to
Okay.
their world because we had this big challenge that was ahead of us, and I had to make some phone calls. And Jeff Bokowicz, who's the
Yep.
president of MCAA, and Arturo Pinal and California Masonry
Council.
Council, and Dan Ricketts, former president of Mason Contractors Association of California.
Yeah.
They said this is an important project. This honors our trade, this honors our craft, and there's legacy involved in this. And they brought me actually
Yeah.
into different conversations around this work. And this is the second CMC summit that I've been to by their invitation. So,
Yeah. Well, we love having you here at these things. And the other 4 questions is pretty much just a SWOT analysis. So strength, weakness, opportunities, and threats. What is the biggest strength for
mm,
the masonry industry that you see from somebody who came from the outside and has been invited
nice.
in?
Yeah. Generally, I'd say the work ethic. I'm very impressed by the Masons' work ethic, that they're not paper pushers, that they will get
You just
work
want to get
done.
stuff done.
They just want to get stuff done and move on and build.
Yeah.
And they're not so caught up with the bureaucracy and different liability concerns that many other industries are
Right.
concerned with. And so I'd say, yeah, one of the strengths is just a forcefulness that they have and a determination and a collaborative spirit to build. I mean, the Masons are like the builders.
Yeah.
So there's not many industries that can say that they're building,
Yeah.
like physically building stuff.
When we talk about weaknesses in the masonry industry, it's always one of those hard topics, right? Because we're such a strong industry
Yeah.
individually.
Yeah.
What do you see as
Yeah.
something that we can work on to do better?
I would say branding.
Branding.
Yeah, branding. The masonry industry is, I wouldn't say it's very well branded.
It's not.
And it's,
A little bit fragmented, right?
it's, I mean, there's so much beauty in the brick.
Yeah.
I mean, in all of the masonry materials, but there's so much beauty and power in the simple modular unit. And that beauty is not communicated to lay people.
Yeah.
And so I would say Project Chimney really highlights the beauty of the trade and the craft. I'd say it's elevated people's perception of the community simply through the visual storytelling that we've been doing and through the great portraits and
Yeah.
short videos. And so there are a lot of people I think that would be very interested in masonry that are not in the construction world, but they have to be reached through, yeah,
Maybe the
new,
social
new,
media
new
or outreach campaigns that we don't have yet,
just
right?
campaigns. Yeah,
Yeah.
campaigns.
So I guess that would probably be one of the opportunities then for us is to do outreach. But other than outreach, what kind of opportunities do you see for masons out there or masonry industry people?
Beyond building stuff.
Yeah, well,
I
or
think
or
that,
even just like for me, my biggest opportunity is to do this kind of thing where I'm outreaching and I'm at events to get to know people. I think for Will, it was inviting more people to kind of see what the masonry industry is about. In this case, for the conference, it's getting 150 students from 42 last year.
yeah,
So over 100 more students coming in,
yeah,
getting that exposure out there.
yeah,
I think that's my
yeah, and
personal
that's
like
not,
biggest opportunity, but
yeah.
from somebody outside the industry,
So,
how can we
like,
better
where else can you go?
position ourselves?
I think that you guys are well positioned.
We're an authentic material, we're a resilient material.
Yeah.
Okay. Where would you like to see the masonry industry go in the future?
I think that there just has to be more collaboration, maybe with atypical producers. I would love to see masonry being used in new ways, and that involves taking on new kind of unconventional projects
Yeah.
that can show the more diversity of the material.
So maybe even going after more of those design award type projects where it's more about the artistic aspect of the project and letting
Yeah.
architects play with the material in a new found way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but also I think also maybe engaging more homeowners, like
Yeah.
people that are preparing to build custom houses so that they can steer the architects in the direction that they want to go, because ultimately the architects have to respond to the homeowners.
Right.
So maybe Masons beginning to work with like collectors and like different executives, like
Yeah.
just going higher so that you can bring the material and bring the craft into the people that are setting the standards for design.
Yeah. Absolutely. And then the last is always a depressing question, but what's the biggest threat that you see to masonry? And I'll talk while you're thinking because I love that this is an opportunity for us to interview people that are outside of the industry as well, because the industry gets set in its way. So
Sure.
we
Yeah.
know what our
Totally.
threats are
Totally.
from an
Totally.
industry standpoint, but
Totally. Yeah.
I think there's threats from outside the industry that we don't know because we
Mm.
just don't see it.
Yeah, I mean, I would say engagement and interest from new audiences, from the next generation of bricklayers and journeymen, just really presenting what you guys do in a way that's accessible to people that are making life decisions about whether or not they want to jump into this field or not. I don't want it to like diminish, and I
No.
don't think that it will. I think that it has a lot of potential to grow, especially on the West Coast, which is not historically recognized
Yeah.
masonry. Of course, there's tons of masonry here, but it's not necessarily as recognized as it is on the East Coast.
Yeah.
But yeah, expanding,
Just
growing,
expanding, do more
growing the
marketing.
interest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you highlighted one of the biggest things to me that we haven't done a really good job on
Mm,
is actually reaching out to home builders and showing them that our material will work in a way that enhances their building performance
mm,
and curb appeal. I remember
mm,
going to a conference or going to a presentation where the building developer talked about adding a stone or a brick veneer on the front of the house where you see it from the road, the
mm.
curb appeal. A $5,000 project adds $15,000 worth of value to the house.
Right.
And it's just something very small that we can do better
Mm,
to get in front of those home builders and bring more masonry to those projects. Well, it's been great. I appreciate you taking the time to come over here and
sure.
sit down and tell us about House Project. And yeah, thank you so much. So, all
Of course, my pleasure.
right. Well,
Yeah.
enjoy the rest of the expo.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, that's a wrap on today's episode of In the Mix, where we put masonry in the spotlight, block by block, brick by brick. A big thanks to our guest, Evan Hall, for sharing their time and insights with us. If you enjoyed this episode, do us a favor. Click that follow button, leave a quick review, and share it with someone who cares about building smarter and stronger. You can connect with me, Adam Hutchinson, on LinkedIn, and find bonus content from today's episode at masonrymix.com. In the Mix is proudly produced by Espresso Podcasts and hosted by yours truly, Adam Hutchinson. You can find the podcast wherever podcasts are found. Hosting of the podcast is made possible by the Northwest Masonry Institute, with a special shout out to the California Masonry Council for hosting us at their Design and Expo Day. Thanks for listening, and as always, stay curious, stay connected, and keep building strong. See you right here next week in the Mix.